baby mama, I'm tired of you. You doing things that a child will do. I'm gonna pull up. I'll run your over. I'll run your dumb ass over. Somebody come get that bitch. Huh?
You heard me.
What you saying?
Why you up there trying to front for them? I cracked your window.
This not my car.
I don't give a car it is.
It ain't in my name.
You driving it, bitch. So you responsible.
I'm taking it back today.
I don't give a
It's a rental.
I don't care.
Move.
I'm finna take your tag.
But y'all see this shit I gotta go through? She's like...
In the early hours of a seemingly ordinary day along Wade Hampton Boulevard, tragedy struck in a way no one could have foreseen. A young man, David Marquise Duke Edens Jr., full of life, dreams, and aspirations, became the victim of a senseless and devastating act of violence. His story, like so many others lost too soon, reminds us of the fragility of life and the devastating ripple effects that violence leaves behind. David's death shocked not only his family and friends but also the wider community, who struggled to comprehend how a vibrant life could be so abruptly and cruelly ended. The person accused of taking his life, Kodesha Bryson, would soon be at the center of a tragic case that raised difficult questions about anger, conflict, and accountability. This video is not just about recounting the heartbreaking facts of that day. It is about remembering who David was and drawing important lessons from his story. Through understanding what happened, we can better recognize the urgent need for stronger community ties, better conflict resolution strategies, and a deeper respect for human life. As we walk through the events leading up to that fateful moment and its aftermath, let us carry David's memory with respect and use his story to advocate for a safer, more compassionate society. David Marquise Duke Edens Jr. was more than just a name in the headlines. He was a son, a friend, and a vibrant young man with a promising future ahead of him. Known for his infectious smile and kind spirit, David left a lasting impression on everyone who had the pleasure of knowing him. Friends described him as someone who was full of life, always ready to bring laughter into a room, and eager to uplift those around him. Growing up, David was deeply connected to his community. He valued loyalty, friendship, and family, often putting others' needs before his own. His social media presence reflected a young man who loved music, fashion, and spending time with friends. He carried himself with confidence and was determined to make a positive mark in his world. David's life was tragically cut short at just 26 years old, leaving a void that can never truly be filled. Those who knew him continue to honor his memory by sharing stories of his warmth, his humor, and the way he made others feel valued and seen. Understanding who David was makes the tragedy even more profound. His death was not just a statistic. It was the loss of a vibrant soul with dreams, relationships, and a future that was stolen far too soon. Kodesha Bryson was a name that, before the tragic events on Wade Hampton Boulevard, few outside her immediate circles would have recognized. However, her actions that day cast a harsh and chilling spotlight on her. Kodesha, whose background remains largely private, was reportedly acquainted with David Marquise Duke Edens Jr., though the full extent and nature of their relationship remain unclear. What is known is that Kodesha Bryson became the center of a devastating act of violence that would forever alter many lives. At just 23 years old, she was charged in connection with the fatal shooting of David Edens Jr., a crime that shocked the local community. Authorities later revealed that this was not a random act. There were indications of an ongoing dispute or tension between her and David in the period leading up to the shooting. Before this tragedy, Kodesha was not widely known to law enforcement, and there is little public information about her personal life, ambitions, or struggles. However, the horrific event revealed a deeply troubling moment where anger, pain, or impulse spiraled into fatal violence. Her actions have left lasting scars, not only on David's loved ones but also on her own life. Now facing serious criminal charges, Kodesha's future has been dramatically and irrevocably changed, a stark reminder of how one moment of violence can destroy multiple lives in an instant. The tragic events unfolded on a seemingly ordinary day along Wade Hampton Boulevard in Greenville, South Carolina. On August 16, 2021, what should have been a regular afternoon quickly turned into a scene of horror that would leave an entire community shaken. According to reports, David Marquise Duke Edens Jr., just 26 years old, was involved in an altercation with Kodesha Bryson. Although the exact details leading up to the confrontation remain somewhat unclear, what followed was undeniably devastating. Witnesses described hearing a series of gunshots echo through the air, breaking the normal bustle of the day. Emergency responders arrived quickly on the scene, only to find David suffering from multiple gunshot wounds. Despite immediate efforts to save his life, David Edens Jr. was pronounced dead, his life cut short in a violent and senseless act. The public location of the crime, in broad daylight, added an additional layer of terror and disbelief for those who happened to be nearby. Authorities wasted no time in launching an investigation. From witness statements and surveillance footage, it soon became evident that Kodesha Bryson was the prime suspect. Not long after, she was arrested and charged with murder and possession of a weapon during a violent crime. The brutality and public nature of the crime stunned the Greenville community. It wasn't just that a young life had been taken, it was the way it happened. Sudden, merciless, and in a place where people generally felt safe. It became a painful reminder of how quickly violence can erupt and how deeply its consequences can cut. In the immediate aftermath of the shooting on Wade Hampton Boulevard, law enforcement acted swiftly to secure the area and gather critical evidence. Officers from the Greenville Police Department cordoned off the scene, interviewing witnesses who had seen or heard the gunfire. Several bystanders provided key details, recounting the argument that had escalated into deadly violence and offering descriptions of the suspect and her vehicle. Surveillance footage from nearby businesses proved invaluable. Cameras captured the moments leading up to the shooting and the quick departure of Kodesha Bryson from the scene. This footage, combined with eyewitness accounts, allowed authorities to piece together the sequence of events with startling clarity. Within hours of the shooting, investigators had identified Kodesha Bryson as the prime suspect. A warrant for her arrest was quickly issued. Thanks to coordinated efforts between patrol officers, detectives, and local agencies, Bryson was located not far from the crime scene. She was taken into custody without further incident. Upon her arrest, Bryson was charged with murder and possession of a weapon during a violent crime. Authorities noted that the weapon used in the shooting was also recovered during the investigation, further strengthening the case against her. As news of the arrest spread, the community expressed a mixture of relief and sorrow, relief that the suspect was quickly apprehended and would face justice, but deep sorrow over the loss of a young man whose life was senselessly cut short. The investigation highlighted the effectiveness of rapid police response and the importance of community cooperation in solving violent crimes. However, the arrest also raised deeper questions about the underlying causes of such tragic violence and what could be done to prevent similar incidents in the future.
And we're following a developing story this afternoon. Kodesha Bryson, there she is, locked up at this hour. The sheriff's office says she shot and killed her ex-boyfriend last night at this Motel 6 on Wade Hampton Boulevard in Greenville. The sheriff's office says after the shooting, though, Bryson turned herself in, and she did have a bond hearing today.
Fox Carolina's Jennifer Phillips joins us live at the Greenville County Jail with what happened inside today when she faced family.
Hey, Victoria. Bryson is locked up here at the Greenville County Jail, and a judge told her that she would have to face a circuit court judge, so she denied bond because of the severity of the murder charge in this case. Now, we are told that she did say give an apology, as you heard, and we also talked to David Eden's father about his son and this homicide. The sound of breaking glass followed by gunshots woke many who slept at the Motel 6 in Greenville County.
My sister called me and was crying and told me something had happened to my son. She called back, said he had been shot.
David Eden Sr. says now his son is gone.
He got 2 sons and a daughter.
Investigators say Kodesha Bryson broke motel windows in search of David Edens Jr., and when she found him, she shot and killed him.
They just didn't do right together.
He says the two used to be in a relationship and have a daughter.
He's a good father and everything. He's a good dude.
During a bond hearing, Bryson apologized to the Edens family.
Mary, I'm sorry, Alicia, Nisha, I love y'all. I'm sorry that wasn't my intention. The gun went off. I would never try to hurt him. He's a great daddy. I'm sorry, Mary.
David Edens Jr.'s cousin, LaQuise Baldwin, says it's tough just to be in court.
She apologized, but at the same time, you had time to think.
She says her family is strong, but they're still very upset.
I just want to know why did she kill him? I mean, he left his family behind, left his kids behind.
And even though David Edens Sr. wants justice, he says no one wins.
I'm sorry for her too, cause she got other kids, and it's all about the kids right now. He gone. He pretty much gone now.
Along with that murder charge, Bryson is also charged with possession of a weapon during a violent crime, as well as malicious damage. Cody and Victoria.
Jen, thanks so much. As we learn more about this homicide, of course, we'll update you here on air and inside our Fox Carolina News app.
Following her arrest, Kodesha Bryson was formally charged with murder and possession of a weapon during a violent crime in connection with the death of David Marquise Duke Edens Jr. She was held without bond at the Greenville County Detention Center, as prosecutors emphasized the seriousness of the charges and the violent nature of the crime. During preliminary court hearings, prosecutors presented the gathered evidence, including eyewitness testimonies, surveillance footage, and forensic analysis, which clearly linked Bryson to the shooting. They argued that the attack was intentional and unprovoked, painting a chilling picture of a personal conflict that escalated with deadly consequences. Bryson's defense team, while acknowledging her presence at the scene, initially signaled that they might argue issues related to emotional distress or self-defense. However, the overwhelming evidence, particularly the clarity of the video footage and witness accounts, posed significant challenges to any defense strategy. As the case progressed, it became a somber symbol within the community of the devastating impact of interpersonal violence. Court documents revealed that there were no formal protective orders or police reports filed between Bryson and Edens prior to the incident, raising troubling questions about the signs of escalating conflict that might have gone unnoticed or unaddressed. As of the most recent updates, Bryson's trial date has not been finalized, but she remains incarcerated awaiting further legal proceedings. She faces a potential life sentence if convicted of the charges against her. The legal process is expected to continue drawing significant public attention, as many in the Greenville area look to the courts for justice in a case that shocked and saddened an entire community. The tragic death of David Marquise Duke Edens Jr. sent shockwaves through the Greenville community and beyond. Friends, family members, and even strangers expressed deep sorrow and disbelief over the sudden loss of a young man who was remembered as kind, driven, and full of potential. Vigils were organized near Wade Hampton Boulevard, where candles, flowers, and heartfelt messages were placed to honor Edens' memory. On social media, heartfelt tributes poured in. Friends shared personal memories of Edens' infectious smile, positive attitude, and the dreams he had for his future. Many expressed their grief not only for the loss of his life but also for the senseless manner in which it was taken. Hashtags like #JusticeForDavid and #SayHisName began trending locally as calls for justice grew louder. Community leaders and activists also used the tragedy as a rallying point to discuss broader issues of interpersonal violence and conflict resolution. Several local organizations held forums and workshops focused on recognizing early warning signs of violent behavior, advocating for better communication in relationships, and promoting community resources for those in volatile situations. The broader conversation touched on the need for emotional health support, especially for young adults navigating complex personal relationships. Mental health professionals emphasized the importance of conflict de-escalation techniques, emotional regulation, and seeking help when tensions rise. For many in Greenville, Edens' death was a heartbreaking reminder that one moment of violence can destroy countless lives, not only the victims but also those of families, friends, and the community at large. His loved ones continue to honor his memory by calling for peace, support for victims of violence, and a stronger commitment to building safer, more compassionate communities. David and Kodesha's relationship exhibited numerous warning signs that experts identify as precursors to violence. The pattern of intense conflict followed by reconciliation created an emotional roller coaster that normalized increasingly dangerous behavior. Their public arguments on social media represented a form of emotional abuse that served to isolate both parties from objective perspectives. The escalation from verbal confrontations to property damage and ultimately violence followed a trajectory that domestic violence experts recognize as predictable. Key red flags included Kodesha's controlling behavior, evidenced by her monitoring David's whereabouts and social connections. David's attempts to distance himself triggered what psychologists call abandonment rage, a dangerous escalation point when an abusive partner senses loss of control. Perhaps most telling was the presence of threats in their communication. Research shows that specific threats, especially when coupled with access to weapons, represent one of the most reliable predictors of eventual violence. In this case, text messages containing veiled threats preceded the fatal confrontation by mere hours, demonstrating how quickly such situations can escalate from words to irreversible actions. For those recognizing similar patterns in their own relationships or those of loved ones, numerous resources exist that might prevent similar tragedies. The National Domestic Violence Hotline, 1-800-799-7233, provides 24-hour confidential support, including safety planning for those preparing to leave dangerous relationships. Local resources often include emergency shelters that accept parents with children, addressing the financial concerns that frequently keep people trapped in toxic relationships. Legal aid organizations can help obtain protective orders and navigate custody arrangements that prioritize safety. For bystanders concerned about friends or family, experts recommend direct conversations that avoid judgment while expressing specific concerns about observed behaviors. Phrases like, "I've noticed," and "I'm worried about," can open dialogue without triggering defensiveness. Offering specific help, such as transportation, childcare, or temporary housing, is more effective than general offers of support. Most importantly, experts emphasize that intervention before violence occurs requires recognizing that relationship abuse typically escalates over time rather than appearing suddenly, making early recognition and response crucial to prevention. David Eden's story reminds us that relationship violence rarely appears without warning. The progression from toxic communication to fatal violence followed a recognizable pattern that might have been interrupted with proper intervention. His legacy lives on through his children and the awareness his story brings to these dangerous dynamics. If this story impacted you, please like this video and share it with someone who might benefit from these warnings. Subscribe to LAT True Crime Stories for more cases that could save lives through awareness. Have you helped someone escape a toxic relationship? Share your experience in the comments below.